If I showed you a wolf and a dog, you'd probably say they're completely different animals. One sleeps in your bed, the other hunts in the wilderness. One waits for you at the front door, the other watches from the darkness beyond the trees. But here's the strange part. They're almost the same animal. In fact, dogs are so closely related to wolves that scientists consider them part of the same family, which creates a question that sounds simple, but becomes stranger the more you think about it. If dogs came from wolves, why are wolves still wolves? Why didn't all wolves become dogs? And why has nobody ever turned wolves into dogs again? At first, you might think the answer is obvious, but it isn't. Because this story isn't really about dogs. It's about a question scientists still argue about today. It's about one of the most unlikely events in human history. A tiny accident that changed two species forever. Around 20,000 years ago, there were no cities, no farms, no roads, no supermarkets, no police, no hospitals. Just small groups of humans trying to survive one day at a time. Every meal mattered. Every injury mattered. Every mistake could kill you. And somewhere beyond the glow of every campfire, wolves were watching. Human camps were dangerous. But they were also full of opportunity. Humans hunted animals, cooked meat, left scraps behind. To a hungry wolf, a human camp was like a giant pile of free food. The problem was getting close enough to take it. Because humans were terrifying. They carried spears. They hunted in groups. They could kill. Most wolves stayed away. And honestly, that was the smart decision. Yet somehow, a few wolves did something different. Instead of avoiding humans, they moved closer. Which brings us to the first theory. Maybe they were simply hungry. Maybe desperate wolves approached human camps because they had no other choice. Sounds reasonable. Until you realize something strange. Wolves have been hungry for hundreds of thousands of years. So why didn't every hungry wolf become a dog? Why did only a tiny fraction change? Clearly, hunger wasn't enough. Something else had to be happening. So maybe ancient humans captured wolf pups. Maybe they raised them by hand. Again, it sounds reasonable. Except people have tried raising wolves in modern times, and the results are usually disappointing. Even wolves raised from birth remain different, more cautious, more independent, more unpredictable. A wolf can learn to tolerate humans, but it doesn't magically become a Labrador. So if raising wolf pups doesn't create dogs, what did? Scientists think the answer wasn't strength, or intelligence, or hunting ability. It was personality. Imagine two wolves standing near a human camp. One is terrified, the other is curious. One runs back into the forest. The other waits. Maybe it steals a bone. Maybe it comes back the next night. Then the next. Then the next. Generation after generation. Those slightly calmer wolves gained access to something valuable. Easy food. They survived more often, had more offspring, and passed those traits to the next generation. Without realizing it, humans were selecting wolves. Not on purpose, just by existing. Over thousands of years, those friendlier wolves slowly began to change. Their behavior changed. Their appearance changed. Their relationship with humans changed. They became better at understanding us, better at reading our emotions, better at living alongside people. Meanwhile, the rest of the wolves stayed exactly where they had always been. In the wild, surviving the old way. And this is where the story becomes really strange, because most people think humans domesticated wolves. But many scientists believe the process may have started from the wolves themselves. The friendliest wolves chose humans. Not because they loved us. Not because they wanted companionship. because staying close to humans increased their chances of survival. Food, protection, opportunity. In a way, the first dogs may have domesticated themselves. Which finally brings us back to the original question. Why are wolves still wolves? Because becoming a dog was never guaranteed. It required an incredibly rare combination of circumstances. Curious wolves, tolerant humans, thousands of years, and countless generations of selection. Remove any one of those pieces, and nothing changes. The wolves remain wolves, which is exactly what happened almost everywhere else. Think about that for a moment. Every dog on Earth, every Labrador, every Husky, every German Shepherd, every Chihuahua, may exist because a few curious wolves made one unusual decision thousands of years ago, to get a little closer to the fire. And if those wolves had made a different choice, your best friend today might still be standing in the darkness, watching from the trees, waiting beyond the edge of the campfire.